Our reading for this evening will focus our attention on our main character tonight, voice from the Passion, Barabbas, better known as, or actually also known as Jesus Barabbas, from Matthew chapter 27. Now the festival of the governor was accustomed to release a prisoner for the crowd, anyone whom they wanted. At that time, they had a notorious prisoner called Jesus Barabbas. So after they had gathered, Pilate said to them, "Whom do you want me to release for you? Jesus Barabbas, or Jesus who is called the Messiah?" For he realized that it was out of jealousy that they had handed him over. While he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, "Have nothing to do with that innocent man. For today I have suffered a great deal because of a dream about him." Now the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus killed. The governor again said to them, "Which of the two do you want me to release for you?" And they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "Then what should I do with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" And all of them said, "Let him be crucified." Then he asked, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Let him be crucified." Word of God, word of life. My name is Jesus. Jesus Barabbas. I know. You probably know dozens of Jesuses. It's a very common name these days. But I am Jesus, the son of Abbas, the Father, the most famous rabbi in all of Jerusalem. That's why they call him Abbas, the Father. He literally is my Father. My Father thinks that we can work with the Romans. He thinks that we can coexist with the Roman occupation. I know, you probably all think that I am disrespectful of my Father, but he is a fool. He is deluding himself if he thinks that we Jews, we proud descendants of Abraham, can live indefinitely with this humiliating Roman occupation of our land. That is why I joined the Zealots. I mean, they're about action, not appeasement. They are determined to drive the hated Romans from our land. They realize that you cannot negotiate with these Roman beasts. Instead, you must shed their blood. That is why I killed a Roman officer. That Gentile pig, even though I was caught. If I had the opportunity, I would do it all over again. Yes, arrested. I expected to die. I was prepared to pay the price. They called it treason. I called it an heroic deed of a patriot. So why am I here? Why am I not in prison, in shackles, ready to die? Because of Jesus. Another Jesus. Because of him, I have enjoyed this incredible reversal of fortune. You may not be aware of this, but every year at Passover, the Romans had this, I call it a clever practice to keep us in our place. They pretended that it was an act of benevolence. But in reality, it was only a carefully calculated scheme to fool us into believing that Rome was not so brutal after all. But it was a lie, a charade, a few crumbs for the dogs groveling at their feet. The Roman procurator, Pontius Pilate, would release a prisoner from his jails every year at Passover. And this year, he was supposedly in an especially beneficent mood. He gave the people a choice between, this year, two criminals. Between, how ironic, two Jesuses. There was me, Jesus Barabbas, and him, Jesus Bar Joseph. Jesus, son of Joseph, the carpenter from Nazareth in Galilee. Now, I thought that the crowd would surely choose him over me, even though I considered myself a patriot. Most people thought I was just another murdering zealot. Most, honestly, were afraid of our fervent patriotism. But Jesus of Nazareth was a threat to no one. I had seen him preach and teach. At first, he caught our attention. We thought that he would use his charismatic leadership in our cause. But we soon discovered that he was far too passive. He was more interested in loving the Romans than in joining our revolt against them. I cannot understand why Pilate would risk giving the crowd a choice like this. Surely, freeing a rebel and patriot like me, Jesus Barabbas, was far more dangerous to Rome than the freedom of an harmless religious fanatic like Jesus Bar Joseph. It almost seemed as if Pilate was going through the motions in order to find an excuse to let Jesus Bar Joseph go free and send me, yes, Jesus Barabbas, to death. However, I was absolutely stunned when the crowds chose me instead of Jesus Bar Joseph. Was I going crazy? Was there some sort of confusion here? Some sort of mix-up that they confused the two Jesuses? What baffled me even more was the way this other Jesus just stood there and remained silent through it all. It was almost as if he wanted this to happen. Not once did he speak up or try to defend himself. Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for what Jesus did for me. It is amazing when you think about it. He literally traded places with me. He exchanged my place for his guilt for my innocence, my imprisonment for his freedom, my death for his life. Oh, sweet it was. Sometimes I call it the sweet swap. You see, Jesus Bar Joseph did not deserve to die. I deserve to die. But he went to death for me so that I might go free. But then I should not have been surprised, because that is what Jesus had always been doing, right? He was always welcoming, outsiders, hanging out with unsavory folks like tax collectors, thieves, women of the evening, unclean and unwashed, deplorables. He obviously wanted to be, how else can we say it, a friend of sinners. He seemed to be on a mission. A mission from God? At least he believed he was. There was no other way to explain, to make any sense of his freedom and his complete confidence that enabled him to let go of everything, even his life, for the sake of people, a person like me. This kind of freedom, this kind of utter disregard for Rome and its cronies, this fearlessness even in the face of his own death, a death that he didn't deserve, but I deserved, to live that way. Oh my gosh, that's dangerous. It can get you killed. And in the case of Jesus Barabbas or Jesus Bar Joseph, it did. And that is what makes Jesus so troubling and so alluring. He was either crazy, a deranged nut who believed in the foolishness of his own delusions, or he really was who he said he was. And if he truly was in some way sent from God, if he truly was who he said he was, the Son of God, then I don't need to run. I don't have to spend my life searching for some cause to which to give my life. The Zealot revolution is unnecessary. And if he is who he said he was, the best way to change this world is not by swinging the sword and slitting some throats, but because Jesus traded places with me, I can trade places with others. I can do the same kind of sweet swapping that Jesus did. Perhaps it was no accident that we had the same name. Maybe that was the point of it all. Jesus Bar Joseph exchanged places with Jesus Barabbas so that Jesus Barabbas, with a new lease on life, can trust the future, trust God, and what would my fellow zealots say? Live for others? What if Jesus intended to exchange places with all of us? What if he wants to swap his life for yours as well? If that is true, then a whole new kind of world is possible. Then that kingdom of which he spoke is already beginning to take shape, even among us. And then life can never be the same.